In this video I'm going to show you how to use the sales forecasting and customer analysis tools available within Nuvola CRM. As you've already seen, on the home screen you have this sales forecast graph, and this can be applied either to individual projects and clients or to the entire business. If I click through to Detail Sales Forecast, I get taken to the Sales Forecast tab within the Reports screen. What I can do here is I can create different types of report that show me a bit more detail about my upcoming sales opportunities and projects. So if I select a date range, by default it gives you the next 6 months. I can select summarization of either none, summary by status, or weighted forecast by status. If I select none, then what it will do is just list every single project together with the status of the customer, a link to the project, and the amount. This can be useful for getting a complete overview of what's going on in the business. However, if I want to get some figures that are a bit more useful for actual prediction of what money's going to come in and give me some quick totals, then I can pick one of these summarizations. So if I pick summary by status, what's going to happen is that it's going to give me, for each month, it's going to tell me the status and the amount in that status. So I can see quite quickly that in October I've got £4,000 worth of completed work and £7,000 which is in progress, so we can be pretty certain that's going to come in. We've got £2,000 for which we've submitted a proposal, which is obviously not definite, but probably a higher probability than stuff that's at a qualified opportunity stage, and so on for other months. I can also pick a weighted forecast using status. Now what this does is it uses these weightings here. So it multiplies the amount of revenue we're expecting by this probability weighting depending on the status. So for example, a £10,000 project that's a qualified opportunity multiplied by 30% will add £3,000 to our forecast. Now this is not an exact science by any means, and it does rather depend on the business. But the idea is to give you a rough idea of how much you can expect to come in future months. So if I run this forecast, you'll see that I simply get the year, month, and the weighted forecast amount. Okay, so that's sales forecasting within Nuvola CRM. Now the customer value tool. Again, this is another tab within the reports screen. Now, the idea of this is to segment your customers into different types based on A, how much they spend with you, and B, how recently they've spent that money. So what we do is we calculate for each customer 3 different figures. So we look at the total revenue. So basically we take the previous 24 months, not including the current month, and we look at the total revenue that the customer has spent with us according to completed, in progress, and contract signed projects over that period. What we then do is we calculate a weighted average. So a weighted monthly average of revenue from the customer is basically, we take every single month, and the further back we go, the less the weighting is. So the last month is given a weight of 1, the month before that is given a weight of 23/24, the one before that is 22/24, and so on down to the 24 months ago being weighted at 1/24. And so what this does is it biases the score towards customers who've spent the most with you recently. So a weighted average revenue will be much higher for a customer who spent £10,000 last month than it will be for a customer who spent £10,000 a year ago, or one who spent £10,000 over a longer period. From this we then calculate a recency score. So we divide the weighted average revenue by the unweighted average. And so a score greater than 1 will indicate that more revenues occurred in the last 12 months and less than 1 that it occurred in the previous 12 months. Okay? So then what happens is we look at the lowest and highest recency and total scores for your business, and then we put the different customers into different cells depending on where they sit. So if we have a look at this chart, we see the rows are the total revenue, so highest total revenue at the top. lowest at the bottom, and the right hand side is those who spent most with us recently, and the left is those who spent most with us a while ago. Okay, so if we look at these projects here, we see high totals and we see high recencies. WA is the weighted average. And we look back here, we've got a customer who spent £5,000 with us, and so sits in the medium level of total revenue, but this was all quite a long time ago, and so that's got a score of 0.32. If I right click and open that in a new tab, and we look at the projects for this customer, we see that this was completed at the end of 2011 and started in fact in 2010, so this was a while ago. Okay. The other little feature we've got here is a growth indicator, and what this does is it multiplies the recency score by the total revenue for every customer, sums all those up, divides by the actual total revenue. So basically what it does, it's a slightly complicated calculation, but essentially if you've got a score greater than 1, you've made more in the last year, and if you've got a score less than 1, you made less in the last year. This is obviously something that your management accounts can give you. This is just kind of a useful feature we've added here, and of course all of these indicators do rely on you putting accurate information into the system, and they're just indicative, but we feel they can be of use, especially when it comes to marketing segmentation. And so with that in mind, you can also take this customer value chart, and you can create lists of contacts based on these different cells. So if I click this link here, create update lists based on these classifications, you see that it's created me a bunch of lists here, and I can access these in the list screen. So if I look at the list of high total value, high recency, it's got 5 customers in, 5 contacts in, sorry. And I can obviously do all the things you can do with lists, so I can send an email to that list, I can export it as a CSV, and I can do various things with that there. So, just to summarise, we go back to the report screen. We have sales forecasting, which allows us to either summarise by the status. We can do a weighted forecast, and the probability weighting there and the usefulness of that will depend on your business slightly, and the and also just a listing of upcoming sales opportunities. And we have a customer value chart, which allows us to segment our customers depending on how and when they spend money with us. Thanks for listening.